In a village where freedom was celebrated, marriage was a personal decision. Men could marry anyone they loved without having to pay dowries or fulfill complicated traditions. This unique custom gave people the liberty to build families based on love and choice. Among the men in the village was Chima, a man of courage and charm. Life had not always been easy for him, but he had managed to rise above challenges over the years. Chima had married 17 wives, adding a new wife every year at the beginning of the year. Each wife brought her unique charm to the household. But his 18th wife, Adaeze, would change his life in ways he could never have imagined. Adaeze was unlike anyone Chima had ever met. She was stunningly beautiful, with a radiant smile and an elegance that turned heads wherever she went. Her beauty was the kind that left people speechless. Men in the village often whispered about her, wishing they could win her heart. But Chima, bold and confident, knew he had to act fast. He felt a deep connection with Adaeze the moment he saw her and decided she would be his next wife. The day Chima met Adaeze was a day he would never forget. She stood under the shade of an old tree, her laughter echoing softly in the village square. Her presence was magnetic, drawing people toward her like moths to a flame. Chima approached her, his heart racing. "You are the most beautiful woman I have ever seen," he told her honestly, his voice steady but filled with admiration. "I feel like I should marry you today." Adaeze laughed, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "And what makes you think I would say yes so quickly?" she teased. Chima smiled. "Because I will do everything to make you happy," he replied confidently. "I imagine us together, your laughter filling my home, your smile brightening my days. I know that if you agree to marry me, my life will be complete." Adaeze looked at him curiously. She found his honesty refreshing and his boldness charming. They talked for hours, sharing stories and dreams. As the sun began to set, Chima gave Adaeze a set of gifts, a beautiful dress, a necklace and a stylish bag. "These are for you," he said. "I want you to know how much I care for you." Adaeze smiled warmly and said, "You are thoughtful, Chima, but if you truly want my heart, I will need to give you something in return." Before Chima could respond, something extraordinary happened. A shiny, luxurious car appeared out of nowhere, parked right in front of them. Chima stared at it in disbelief. "Where did this come from?" he asked, his voice filled with wonder. Adaeze smiled mysteriously. This is my gift to you, my dear," she said softly. "A gift for the man who has touched my heart." Chima was stunned. The car was unlike anything he had ever seen in the village. Its sleek design and polished exterior seemed almost magical. Though he couldn't understand how the car had appeared, he accepted it gratefully. "You are full of surprises, Adaeze," he said. "You've already made me the happiest man alive." When the day of the wedding arrived, the entire village buzzed with excitement. Adaeze wore an elegant gown that highlighted her beauty, and her radiant smile lit up the ceremony. Every man who saw her was struck by her grace, while the women admired her poise and charm. "You look like a queen," Chima whispered to her as they stood together. "And today I am the luckiest man in the world." Adaeze smiled and replied, "And you, Chima, are my king. I will spend my life making you proud." The couple decided to use the mysterious car to travel to the ceremony. They expected the journey to take only an hour, but the car had a mind of its own. It stopped and started unpredictably, stretching the trip into an entire day. Strangely, neither Chima nor Adaeze was bothered by the delay. They laughed and joked, enjoying each other's company. "You know, Chima," Adaeze said, "this car is like our journey together. It might take unexpected turns, but as long as we are together, the destination will always be worth it." Chima looked at her and smiled. "With you by my side, Adaeze, every journey feels like an adventure. You are my greatest blessing." When they finally arrived, the car was spotless, as though it had just been polished. The villagers who had been waiting eagerly were amazed. Adaeze stepped out of the car, looking like a vision. Chima followed, his heart swelling with pride. The ceremony was a grand affair, filled with music, laughter and joy. As they exchanged vows, Chima looked into Adaeze's eyes and said, "I promise to cherish you, honor you, and make you the happiest woman in the world." Adaeze smiled and replied, "And I promise to bring you joy, love and prosperity. Together, we will create a life full of wonders." After the ceremony, a grand feast was held. The villagers danced to traditional music, enjoying delicious food and celebrating late into the night. Adaeze's beauty and grace became the talk of the evening. Even Chima's other wives admired her and welcomed her warmly into the household. As days turned into weeks, Chima began to notice that Adaeze was not an ordinary woman. She had a mysterious aura and seemed to bring miracles wherever she went. Like the crops in Chima's fields flourished like never before. His household became more harmonious and prosperity seemed to follow them everywhere. But soon, strange occurrences filled their home. One day, Chima watched in awe as Adaeze fetched water. The village water source was nearly an hour away, yet she returned within a minute, the pot filled to the brim. "How is this possible?" Chima murmured. Adaeze simply smiled. "When you love someone, you'll always find a way to make life easier for them." Yet Chima couldn't help but feel uneasy. One evening, when he mentioned he was thirsty, Adaeze stretched her hand, impossibly long, and retrieved a cup from the next room without moving. Chima blinked, wondering if his mind was playing tricks on him. "Where did that come from?" he asked cautiously. Adaeze smiled. "You needed water, so I got it for you, my love." One fateful day, Chima returned home earlier than expected. As he approached the house, he noticed something unusual through the window. A long, snake-like object stretching from the bedroom into the sitting room, carrying a cup of water. His heart pounded. He moved closer, only to realize it wasn't a snake. It was Adaeze's arm, impossibly extended. Chima froze, his mouth dry, his legs weak. For the first time, he questioned whether Adaeze was even human. That night, he confided in his eldest wife. She listened patiently and said, "Chima, you rushed into marrying Adaeze because of her beauty. You didn't take the time to truly know her. Sometimes what we see on the outside is not what lies within." Chima realized he had been blinded by Adaeze's beauty and charm, never stopping to understand who she really was. Chima spent the next few days in deep thought, unsure of what to do. His love for Adaeze was undeniable, but the fear creeping into his heart made him question everything. Had he married a woman, or had he brought something beyond human into his home? One evening, unable to hold back any longer, he decided to visit the village elder, Papanduka. The old man had seen many things in his lifetime and was known for his wisdom. Chima sat before him, recounting everything. The miraculous car, Adaeze's speed in fetching water, her impossibly long arm, and the growing unease in his heart. Papanduka listened carefully, his expression unreadable. When Chima finished speaking, the old man sighed. "My son," he said, "you have married a spirit." Chima felt the weight of those words sink deep into his bones. "A spirit?" he whispered. "Yes," Papanduka nodded. "Not all spirits mean harm, but they do not belong to our world. Did she tell you anything about where she came from?" Chima shook his head. "No, I never asked." Papanduka chuckled softly. "That is your mistake. You let her beauty blind you. Tell me, do you truly love her?" Chima hesitated, but then nodded. "I do, but I fear her too." Papanduka stood up and retrieved a small carved wooden box from his shelf. "Take this," he said, handing it to Chima. "Inside is a sacred kola nut. Offer it to Adaeze tonight and ask her to break it with you. If she is human, she will eat it. But if she refuses, then you will know the truth." Chima took the box, his hands trembling. That night, as he sat with Adaeze under the moonlight, he placed the kola nut between them. "My love," he said, forcing his voice to stay calm, "let us share this together." Adaeze looked at the kola nut, and for the first time, Chima saw something flicker in her eyes. Hesitation. "Why this sudden tradition?" she asked with a small smile. "We have never needed kola nut to prove our love." Chima's heart pounded. "Just humor me," he said gently. Adaeze sighed and reached out, but just as her fingers touched the kola nut, a gust of wind rushed through the compound, strong enough to send the flames of their lantern flickering wildly. Adaeze pulled back her hand as though the kola nut had burned her. Chima saw the truth then. "You cannot eat it," he whispered. Adaeze's smile faded. She looked at him with sadness in her eyes. "I never meant to deceive you," she said softly. "But you are right, Chima. I am not like you." Chima swallowed hard. "What are you?" Adaeze hesitated, then stood up. The wind grew stronger, circling around them. "I am from a different world," she admitted. "A world where spirits like me exist among the unseen. I came because you wished for love, and I wished for something human, to feel what it meant to be loved as a woman." Chima's throat tightened. So all this time? Adaeze nodded. I thought I could stay, but I see now that you fear me, and that is something I cannot bear. Chima felt a pang of guilt. He had loved her, but fear had changed everything. Is there no way for you to stay? He asked, surprising himself. Adaeze smiled sadly. No, my love, my time here is over. And with that, the wind carried her away. She disappeared into the night, leaving behind nothing but the mysterious car, which sat in the compound like an empty shell. The next morning, when Chima went to look at the car, he found it covered in vines, as though it had been abandoned for years. When he reached out to touch it, the car crumbled into dust. Chima never married again after that. He kept his 17 wives, but treated them with more patience and care, realizing that love was more than just beauty and excitement. And so, the legend of Chima and Adaeze was passed down through generations, a story of love, mystery, and the lesson that not everything that shines is meant to stay.